Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and let's talk about rear axle ratio and how it impacts fuel economy. And in this video, I have information from General Motors, I have information I found online, and things I can talk to you about with this difference. So the question came in from Kevin, who's a viewer of the channel. He says, hey Tim, I'm looking to purchase a 2023 Silverado 1500 LTZ with the 3-liter Duramax and came across your YouTube channel while researching the truck. Watched your videos near your high country, very informative. So I'm currently sitting in the high country right now. This is the truck I bought for this year for the channel. I review lots of trucks of the year, and every year I buy a new truck, and so there's lots of truck comparisons on this channel. And he says, I see your truck has a 373 rear gear ratio. I'm wondering if you have information on what the fuel economy difference does when compared to the 323, 342, and 373 along with the performance of the truck. And this is a pretty common question because in the gasoline version, you go from a 323 to 342 when you do the max towing package. In the diesel, you go from 323 to 373. So it feels like quite a bit more difference when you talk about rear axle ratio. Now, I'd love to have this truck versus with a 323 non-towing package, but that's kind of a pipe dream in my world to get two trucks together very similar with different axle ratios. But I can speak to this, and I did, like I say, get an answer at General Motors. So if you recall, rear axle ratios used to be a big deal. So I have a 62 C10 I actually own as well, and when that truck has a 411 rear axle ratio, and my father and I were talking about it because back then, one engine, one or two engines maybe. You had a 4-speed manual in most cases. And so really, you didn't nothing going on besides the rear axle ratio was really impacting fuel economy. So basically, the 411 had what we call were towing gears, work truck gears. And so it had better performance when towing off the line. And then if you went down like 355 or down to 330, 323 or something really small, you would have better fuel economy. You'd have what we call highway gears. So highway gears were towing gears. And so now that was 60 years ago. But that thinking still persists because, trucks have changed, but they haven't changed some ways. And so I got the information back from General Motors because I went online, I should say before this, went online, I checked the Fuelie, I checked forums, I checked stuff, and it always got this kind of thought process. There's a few videos on YouTube that, like, Demon Works has a video in the same truck, and he says he thinks it's about a half mile per gallon difference. Everybody's got these different viewpoints, and maybe it's a change, but whatever. But it doesn't seem like people are factoring the big reason of what's going on, which I'll get to that in the video. But Sean, who's the senior manager of Chevrolet Trucks Communications, I've used him in the channel before, reached out to him. He's my public relations contact for General Motors, and he reaches out to engineering. So that's how I don't have engineering email addresses on file, guys, on purpose. No. I reach out to PR first, get the information from them. So he says, I can tell you there is no difference in model year 23 LZ0 EPA fuel economy label between a non-tow package with a 323 axle ratio and a tow package version that comes with a 373 axle ratio. And this is true for both the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive trucks. Only the 323 and 373 axles are available with the LZ0. Now, he told me there's no difference in the fuel economy label. That's very important. So if you don't know how EPA ratings work, it's basically it's up to the manufacturer to certify their own EPA ratings. Then the EPA double checks their math, basically, does their own testing. If numbers don't match up, they have to publicly restate their errors. They have to publicly restate their numbers, which we love to report on, and automakers hate us calling them out for a big problem like that. So they do fuel economy tests for the EPA cycle on all their vehicles to make sure that they're going to give accurate information out for what the vehicles are producing as far as fuel economy. So that's a very important statement that he made on the fuel economy label. That tells me they've done the testing and they tested both versions and they found no difference. And that's engineering finding difference. Now, again, I went to Fuelie.com. I saw a Demon Works video. I saw a different forums. People think maybe in the real world, maybe half mile per gallon difference. Fuelie is kind of frustrating because you can't sort by axle ratio that I could find. Just shows you the listing of vehicles. But I want to tell you another story that kind of goes along with this as well. A couple of years ago, I was in Utah. I was driving the new Chevy Silverado heavy duties. Was it Utah or GMC? I don't know. A couple of years ago. Maybe it was Oregon. Anyways, it doesn't matter where it's at. I was driving the new Chevy Silverado heavy duties. And in that model year, they went from a 410 rear axle ratio down to a 373. And we were driving along and showing off the better performance passing. And so I had the engineer with me. And I was asking some questions. I said, why did you guys go from this 410 to 373, you really made a big change there in lots of people's minds, right? So 410 was always, that was the standard for towing. And now 373, 323, and people, I talk to people with 323, they're like, you can't even tow with 323. That's ridiculous. And I was talking to him about this, and he says, he goes, we've tested it out, and we cannot find any real benefit to having 410 anymore because we have more multi-speed transmissions with new drive modes. And so what happened now is, like in this Silverado, we have a new 10-speed transmission throughout the lineup. And in that 10-speed transmission, they're able to replicate that better offline towing performance you get from the better gear ratio by using a tow haul mode and additional gears and changing the transmission shift points with the throttle response, change that a little bit as well. That gives you that same performance that you got from that bigger rear gear ratio. And so there is no benefit anymore. And now these transmissions have gotten smarter. Trucks have, again, more tow haul modes. I'm looking at a Tundra right now that I need to sell, but that's got 2 tow haul modes. It's got a high and a low tow haul mode. And so they've made these improvements in the transmissions, in the engine's performance, in transmission cooling performance, which cooling is a huge deal for towing. And they've done differences with drive modes, and it really has negated the huge impact that rear axle ratios used to have on fuel economy. And so if you're out there looking for a new truck and you're debating between max tow package and non-max tow package, just know that the rear axle ratio isn't going to be that big of a difference in the real world. Again, I'd love to have 2 similar trucks drive 100 miles an hour or whatever. But again, that's my testing. GM's done their testing. People have done testing online. And GM says there's no big difference. Online says maybe half gallon mile. And yeah, I don't see any difference here. I get pretty darn good fuel economy in this LZ0 I've been driving. You'll see some more videos coming because the weather's finally started to change. I can do more driving, do more videos. So I just want to get information there, kind of put that to bed because, again, I asked that question a lot. And now I have a video. I can just send a link over. Talked about it here. It's fantastic. All right, check more videos over here. Website down below, pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.